I think the fact that A'ja Wilson is the best player in the world, and the fact that she is actively trying to ruin Caitlin Clark.
A'ja Wilson has a problem, and it's Caitlin Clark. The WNBA superstar lost her cool when she heard about Clark's latest award, the 3-time MVP and Las Vegas Ace champion. Couldn't hold back her thoughts. Her reaction spread like wildfire across social media, leaving basketball fans stunned now. Everyone's asking, why can't Wilson handle Clark's success? Is this just another outburst, or has Wilson finally cracked under pressure? The drama that's rocking the WNBA is about to get even messier.
Before the WNBA season started, A'ja Wilson, when she was asked about Caitlin Clark, stated, Caitlin Clark is only as popular as she is because of her race, and there's nothing that anyone else can do because, it's nothing to do with, basically, that there's nothing she could do to be the most popular player in the W.
When Time magazine announced Caitlin Clark as one of their featured athletes, Wilson went straight to Twitter. She didn't just drop a single tweet, she unleashed a storm that shook the basketball world within minutes. Her feed filled up with posts questioning not just the award, but the entire system up. Recognition in women's basketball, Wilson, a 2-time league champion and now 3-time WNBA. EP told the Associated Press she thought Clark's race was a huge contributor to her popularity. It doesn't matter what we all do. As Black women, we're still going to be swept underneath the rug. That's why it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it is. Here was a 3-time MVP, a player who'd taken her team to multiple championships, feeling overlooked because of a rookie. Recognition, the timing couldn't have been more telling. Just days before Wilson had been celebrating another stellar season with the Aces. But Clark's Time magazine feature seemed to hit a nerve Wilson supporters jumped in, immediately flooding social media with comparisons of their achievements. They pointed out Wilson's incredible stats, her game-changing plays, her consistent performance under pressure, her role in transforming the Las Vegas Aces into a dynasty.
Wilson, a 2-time league champion and now 3-time WNBA MVP, told the Associated Press she thought Clark's race was a huge contributor to her popularity. It doesn't matter what we all do as Black women, we're still going to be swept underneath the rug. That's why it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it is.
But here's where things got interesting. While Wilson's fans were fighting her battle online, other WNBA players stayed surprisingly quiet. The silence from her peer spoke volumes. Veterans of the game who'd seen their fair share of awards and recognition didn't join in the debate. Instead, they watched as Wilson's tweets kept coming, each one more pointed than the last.
It's noise that I don't really listen to, honestly, because I'm in season. I have other things that we need to worry about than what other people have to say. I have a scout, I have 11 other minds on my team and in my locker room that we got to make sure that we're on the same mindset. So I really can't give you the best answer on that because I really don't pay any attention to it. My goal is just to go out there and be the best that I can be for my teammates, both on and off the court, and we're going to go out there and be us.
What made this meltdown particularly fascinating was its context. Wilson wasn't just any player feeling overlooked. She was already at the top of her game. She had a signature shoe deal with Adidas. Her jersey sales were through the roof. The Aces had built their entire franchise around her, yet somehow Clark's recognition in Time magazine threatened all of that.
If A'ja Wilson, I'm telling you this right now, if A'ja Wilson did not say a word during the season, A'ja Wilson would be one of the most popular basketball players because she's a hell of a player.
The basketball world watched in real time as Wilson's tweets evolved from subtle jabs to direct accusations. She started questioning the media's motives, suggesting bias and coverage, and even hinting at deeper issues within the sport. Her followers multiplied, with each tweet turning her personal frustration into a full-blown movement.
Us as Black women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. You say you're not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also, she's good at basketball, obviously. But, she understands her privilege and, pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you.
Media outlets picked up the story immediately. Sports analysts, who usually focused on game statistics, found themselves dissecting Wilson's social media behavior. Some defended her right to express frustration. Others questioned whether a player of her caliber should be so publicly rattled by a rookie's success. The debate spread beyond basketball circles. Social media influencers, sports commentators, and fans from other sports weighed in what started as a reaction to a magazine feature had become a conversation about recognition, respect, and representation in women's sports. Wilson's signature shoe partner Adidas, while watched nervously from the sidelines, their star athlete was making headlines, but not for her amazing plays or championship victories. Instead, she was trending for what many saw as an emotional outburst against a rising star. The real twist came when clips from Wilson's past interviews surfaced, videos where she talked about supporting young talent, about being a role model, about lifting up the next generation of players. These clips played side by side with her recent tweets painted a picture of a champion struggling with change. Basketball blogs had a field day analyzing every word. They pointed out how Wilson's language changed when discussing Clark versus other rookies. They noted the timing of her posts, always seemingly triggered by Clark's achievements rather than any direct competition between them. Former WNBA stars started weighing in, though carefully. They understood the pressure of being at the top, of feeling like you had to defend your position. Some shared stories of their own struggles with passing the torch, but most agreed Wilson's public reaction wasn't helping anyone, least of all herself. The meltdown reached its peak when Wilson responded to a fan who suggested she focus on her own game. Her reply, dripping with sarcasm, became instantly viral. Focus on my game, 3 MPs isn't enough focus. The tweet was deleted within hours, but screenshots spread like wildfire. Sports psychologists offered their takes. They talked about the pressure of being a face of the league, about them.
As soon as Caitlin Clark's Nike deal gets announced and that she's getting a signature shoe, A'ja Wilson goes on Twitter and goes on an entire 4 or 5 tweet rant about how she'll never get the recognition that she deserves, and basically that Caitlin Clark is only getting this because of her race again.
Challenge of maintaining dominance in an evolving sport. Some suggested Wilson's reactions revealed deeper insecurities about her place in basketball history. The Aces PR team scrambled to control the narrative. They highlighted Wilson's community work, her leadership role, her dedication to growing the game, but with each new tweet from their star player, their job got harder. How do you spin a story when your protagonist keeps adding new chapters? As days passed, the initial shock of Wilson's reaction gave way to broader discussions. People started asking questions about the nature of competition in women's sports, about the pressure to maintain relevance in a social media age, about the complex dynamics between established stars and rising talents. The whole episode revealed something crucial about modern sports. It's not just about what happens on the court anymore. Every tweet, every post, every reaction becomes part of an athlete's story. For Wilson, this Twitter meltdown added a complicated chapter to what had been a fairly straightforward success story. Looking back, this moment marked a turning point. It wasn't just about Wilson's reaction to Clark's Time magazine feature anymore. It became about how champions handle change, how stars deal with sharing the spotlight, and how social media can turn personal moments into public spectacles. This reaction to Clark's Time magazine feature wasn't an isolated incident. Wilson's behavior had been following a concerning pattern, one that started the moment Clark began making waves in women's basketball. Let's look at the Nike deal drama first. When news broke about Clark's signature shoe line, Wilson didn't just stay quiet. Instead, she took to social media with a series of posts that raised eyebrows across the basketball community. What made this especially odd was that Wilson already had her own signature shoe with Adidas. She was one of the few WNBA players with such a deal, yet she couldn't seem to celebrate another player joining this exclusive club. The situation got even more complicated when reports surfaced about Nike's response. Sources claimed the company was so worried about offending Wilson and other established players that they pushed back Clark's shoe release. Think about that, a major company adjusted in their plans because they feared one player's reaction. That's how much influence Wilson had built up in the sport. But the shoe drama was just the beginning. When Clark's Indiana Fever selection became official, Wilson's comments about playing in Indiana struck many as strange. Here was a WNBA champion claiming she felt intimidated playing in front of crowds, mainly made up of young girls and families. The basketball world struggled to make sense of it. Was this the same Wilson who dominated playoff games in hostile arenas? Her reaction to game commentary raised even more concerns when basketball legend Rebecca Lobo suggested Wilson might be a unanimous MVP choice, something that should have been taken as a compliment. Wilson's supporters attacked Lobo online. Wilson's silence during this attack spoke volumes. She could have easily calmed her fans down with a single tweet, but she chose not to. The pattern extended to every Clark achievement, each record broken, each milestone reached seemed to trigger a response from Wilson. It got to the point where basketball fans started anticipating Wilson's reactions almost as much as Clark's accomplishments. Media outlets began keeping track, creating compilation videos of Wilson's responses to Clark's success. Team dynamics started showing strain. Two Wilson's Las Vegas Aces teammates found themselves constantly fielding questions about the situation. They had to balance supporting their star player while not appearing to miss Clark's achievements. It was a tight RPP walk that no one had asked for yet. Everyone had to perform. The WNBA front office watched all this unfold with growing concern. The league was experiencing unprecedented growth, attracting new fans and sponsors. But instead of headlines focusing on amazing plays and rising viewership, attention kept shifting to this developing drama between Wilson and Clark. Veterans of the game started speaking up, though carefully. They remembered similar transitions in their time when new stars emerged and established players had to adjust. But social media had changed the game. What might have once been private frustrations now played out in public for everyone to see and analyze. Marketing experts pointed out how Wilson's behavior might affect her brand long-term. She'd built her image as a confident champion who lifted others up. Now that image was showing cracks. Sponsors started asking questions. Would they want their products associated with someone who seemed increasingly focused on tearing down rather than building up? The pattern affected game coverage. Two commentators found themselves walking on eggshells, careful not to praise Clark too much for fear of triggering another response from Wilson. This created an awkward situation where amazing plays couldn't be celebrated fully, all because of how one player might react. Inside sources revealed that Wilson's teammates had tried talking to her about it. They saw how this pattern was affecting not just her reputation, but team chemistry. The Aces were still winning, still dominating, yet conversations kept drifting away from their success to Wilson's latest comments about Clark. Social media analysts tracked an interesting trend. Every time Wilson reacted negatively to Clark's success, her own follower count would drop slightly. It wasn't massive numbers, but it showed how fans were responding to this pattern. Some of Wilson's most loyal supporters started questioning if their champion was fighting the wrong battles. The pattern reached beyond basketball circles. Major news outlets started covering the story, not as sports news, but as a human interest piece. They explored themes of rivalry, insecurity, and the challenges of staying on top in professional sports. Wilson's behavior became a case study in how not to handle competition. Sports psychologists offered fascinating insights. They pointed out how Wilson's pattern of behavior suggested someone struggling with change rather than someone truly angry at Clark. It wasn't about the individual achievements anymore. It was about what those achievements represented: a shifting landscape. In women's basketball, other WNBA players started positioning themselves differently. Names like Nafisa Keir and Arojan Bale gained popularity partly because of how they handled Clark's rise with grace and support rather than resistance. They showed there was another way to remain relevant while welcoming new talent. The pattern affected Wilson's game too, though not in the way you might expect. Her stats stayed impressive, maybe even improved. It was like she was trying to prove something with every game, but the joy seemed missing. Fans noticed fewer smiles, less interaction with crowds, a champion who seemed burdened rather than empowered by her own success. As the season progressed, the pattern became more predictable. Clark would achieve something, media would celebrate it. Wilson would react, her fans would attack, and the cycle would start again. It was exhausting for everyone involved, especially those who just wanted to enjoy the sport. Looking ahead, questions loom large. Can Wilson break this pattern? Will Clark's actual WNBA debut make things better or worse? The league's future might depend on how this relationship develops. Right now, what should be a story about women's basketball reaching new heights has become a cautionary tale about how success can sometimes bring out unexpected responses, even from our biggest stars. The basketball community has started speculating about what happens next. Industry experts predict the first direct matchup between Wilson and Clark will draw a record. Viewership. Ticket prices for Aces versus Fever games have already skyrocketed, with fans eager to witness this drama unfold on court. Behind closed doors, team owners worry about the long-term impact. The WNBA needs strong personalities and healthy rivalries, but this situation feels different. It's creating divisions within the fan base at a time when the league should be united in celebrating its growth. Clark's approach to to all this adds another layer. She's maintained a diplomatic stance, never directly responding to Wilson's comments. When reporters try to bait her into the drama, she redirects conversations to basketball. This mature handling of the situation has won her more supporters inadvertently, making Wilson's reaction seem even more out-of-place. Sponsors are watching closely. Two major brands looking to invest in women's basketball want positive stories to tell. Wilson's pattern of behavior makes marketing executives nervous. They're asking themselves, do they want their brands associated with someone who seems increasingly bitter about another player's success? The pattern has even affected how young players view the league. AA coaches report their players discussing the situation, with some questioning if this is what success in the WNBA looks like. It's not the kind of conversation the league wants future stars. Having youth basketball camps have seen changes too. Where Wilson was once a universal role model, now some parents express concern about their children following her social media. The very platforms that helped build Wilson's brand are now showcasing its potential. Unraveling. Las Vegas local media, usually staunchly supportive of Wilson, have started publishing editorials asking her to reconsider her approach. They recognize her immense contribution to the city's basketball culture, but worry her legacy might be overshadowed by this ongoing drama. Looking at the numbers, Wilson's pattern of behavior hasn't hurt her game statistics. She's still putting up MVP-worthy numbers, but analytics experts point out an interesting trend. Engagement with her positive highlights has dropped, while clips of her controversial moments get more attention. It's a subtle shift that could have major implications for her career's narrative. WNBA historians draw parallels to past transitions of power in the league, but note this situation's uniqueness. Never before has social media allowed fans to track a star's reaction to emerging talent in such detail. Wilson's every post, like, and retweet becomes part of a larger story about handling competition in the digital age. As the new season approaches, basketball insiders predict this pattern will either break or intensify. There's no middle ground left. Wilson must either find a way to coexist with Clark's stardom or risk becoming known more for her reactions than her remarkable achievements on court. The question everyone's asking isn't if Wilson will respond to Clark's next achievement, but how will she continue this pattern of challenging every accolade? Or will she find a new way to assert her own legacy without diminishing others? The answer could define not just her career, but this era of women's basketball.